Persona 6 may be on the way. Persona 3 Reload, the remake to original Persona 3, is releasing in the beginning of 2024. And Atlus also has a new IP dropping in 2024 with ReFantazio. But the game that seemingly everybody has been waiting for ever since Persona 5 first released, all the way back when, is Persona 6. And you could have an argument about whether or not we'll even get a Persona 6. Have you looked at the sales numbers for P5? We're gonna get a Persona 6. I think the only real question at this point is what will Persona 6 even look like and what will it be composed of? And that's what I want to address here today. I want to talk about what I want to see out of Persona 6. The changes or iterations or innovations that I would like to see done to the Persona formula now that we've had so much time with P5 and revisiting P3 and P4 so many times. And funnily enough, I think they're starting to hit their groove. When you go from P1 and 2 even to 3, then to 4, then to 5, you can see a lot of changes going from each title to the next. Ironing out the formula or just changing it up a little bit here and there. Trying new things out, testing new things, streamlining certain elements. And I think with Persona 5 Royal specifically, they've kind of hit their ideal. A formula that's mostly good, that has been tested, successful, and that they know works. And there's a lot of elements from the P5 formula that I want to see carry over compared to the other games in the series, particularly when it comes to the dungeon design. Persona 5 has by far my favorite dungeon design of Persona 3 and 4 and 5. I vastly prefer the explorable areas that aren't just linear corridors or labyrinth like Tartarus. I like how each area kind of had its own unique identity and gameplay mechanics for each of the dungeons. I think that's the formula to stick with going into the next game, because I can't see the Persona formula changing all that much. I assume we'll have Confidants or social links, whatever they want to call them, alongside some dungeon crawling adventures. Maybe even a Mementos-esque area as well, but there are some things I would like to see done to Mementos that they started to do with Royal specifically by adding upgrades and extra collectibles in Mementos. I want to see them go a step further though. When it comes to the social links of the Confidant system, on the whole, it's, in my opinion, one of the key pillars of Persona nowadays. I can't see them making a Persona game without this system. And I think if they want to make a game without this system, they're going to do like what they're doing with ReFantazio and make a new series. Or go more for that series specifically, or resurrect Shin Megami Tensei again. When it comes to Persona, I don't see the Confidants of the social link mechanic going anywhere, and I think P5, mechanically speaking, had a very interesting version of them, because more often than not, the social links kind of served as this function for you to gain more XP for summons of that Arcana. However, in Persona 5 as well, and especially Royal, what happened was, when you leveled up a Confidant through various ranks, you unlocked passive bonuses, or even whole new progression systems, like with the Yusuke card mechanic. Sure, they varied in terms of usefulness, but the fact that you were rewarded with additional in-game progression systems or new abilities or new passives helped make each Confidant stand out on its own, feel useful and relevant, and added an additional synergy between the social simulator aspects of Persona alongside the dungeon crawling elements. I love that synergy in P5. It's one of the reasons that gameplay-wise Persona 5 Royal is my favorite, and I want to see them lean into those elements again. However, especially with this recent trip down memory lane for Persona 3 that Atlus has been pursuing for a little bit now, I think there's an argument to be said that the social simulator aspects, the social links, the Confidants, they don't need to be rudimentary time-gating mechanics to artificially increase each Confidant or social link's level. You can add interesting dialogue choices that can negatively impact your outcome or progression. I don't think they want to go as hard as they did with original Fez, where you could reverse entire ranks, because they're removing that in Reload, from what I recall, but allowing the characters to feel more organic in the world and react to the things that you do and that you say, and that you can mess up, and that there are negative repercussions for that, I think it can be important to making a more engaging, fleshed out system here. I'm not even opposed to a branching path idea. They did this once with Ai Ebihara in Persona 4, where you had a choice, and depending upon how you chose in that moment, you either got cut off at a certain rank and pursued a different storyline with her, or you were able to go to rank 10 with the other route. Flesh that out, allow branching paths in these social links or confidants that maybe, depending upon the answers we give or the paths we pursue, allow us to gain different passives. Or at least make the player feel like they're more in control over these social simulator aspects. I think that's where a bulk of the improvements for the Persona formula could lie, and I think it would be interesting to say the least to see them try and iterate on that aspect. When it comes to the gameplay, I think Baton Pass is here to stay. It's too good of a mechanic that synergizes so well with the social links and confidant system, and ranking all those up, as well as augmenting it and powering it up through minigames in the overworld, to leave the formula, I believe, in my opinion. I think it needs some tuning, maybe an additional mechanic or two, because my one main critique of the Persona 5 Royal Battle system is that I feel like I became too reliant upon baton passes later on in the game, to where it minimalized a lot of the difficulty for certain fights, because I just baton passed every time to max and got a lot of power, did not have to really manage resources, which is kind of fine in the end game, but I think there's an argument to be had that the gameplay loop can be sometimes too hyper-focused on baton passes, and maybe an additional mechanic or two for us to manage or to utilize or to pick between baton pass and that thing from could greatly aid in the replayability. I may just be super picky about that, because I'm kind of picky when it comes to turn-based RPGs, but those are just my thoughts on the system overall. I think it's too good of a system not to iterate on and not to give it another bash, if not just to keep it as is. It's a really good system. I would just like to see some iterations made here and there to it. When it comes to the actual narrative as well, I think we're in for a more darker storyline, more akin to P3 than, say, 4 or 5. Both of those games got dark as well, but I mean on the whole and on average. P3 dealt with topics like death and guiltiness, or guiltiness. You know, conscious. Learning to cope with death and surrounding the game with themes of death and how people react to it, whether to its immediate gravity to a situation or the lingering presence it can have over people. I think Persona may be trending more in that direction for the future, as I still kind of hold to the idea that I think Persona 6 will follow up P3 in some way. I at least think we'll see Elizabeth again. And honestly, for me, I would love it if the game could just move up to university instead of high school. I think we've done the high school formula a lot with the last few games, and to breathe a new sense of freshness into the series as well, I think moving into university to allow the game to tackle more mature themes naturally by having more mature characters could benefit the story a lot, depending upon where they want to go with it, of course. But that's just a direction that I would personally like to see. And now let's get into the fun stuff, right? So, like, what do we think the color for P6 is going to be? Because P3 was blue, or I guess pink if you played as Femse. I'll give you a hint what Persona 4 Golden's color was. Persona 5 Royal or Persona 5 was red. What do we think P6 is going to be? I've heard green thrown around a lot, and yeah, it could work, but I think if they're going to go for a more darker storyline, I could easily see them using a less colorful color and go with something like white or black. It's impossible to theorize at this moment, but I just think it's kind of cool to think about. And now here's the main one. What's the mascot going to be? Right? Persona 3 we had the dog, Koromaru. Best boy. We had Teddy in P4, and we had a cat in P5. So what are we going to do for the mascot character in P6? This is the most important question, let's be honest. Honestly, I think it'd be kind of funny if it's just a little skeleton bro. Maybe like a raccoon or something. And believe you me, if it is, I'm going to make so many Sly Cooper jokes, it'll make your head melt like freaking cheddar. Or maybe they just finally lean into the butterfly thing they've had going for quite a few games at this point, and just have the main companion be a floating butterfly that's ephemeral or something. Ephemeral. It would definitely be interesting to see, because normally when it comes to Persona, you can kind of tell a little bit about the overall themes and messaging from the mascot character and the color scheme that the game goes for. I mean, Koromaru had wings, which can help symbolize death for, like, angels. You had Teddy, who was just a mascot, but over the course of the game, we learned his true self. And he's just kind of happy-go-lucky, which fits P4's overall tone. And then Morgana had a mask on, which symbolized the Phantom Thieves. Same thing with being sneaky as a cat, so it kind of helped represent the idea that we're kind of stealthy in P5 and infiltrating palaces. You kind of have to extrapolate it and think about it a little bit more, but if you reach far enough, you can find a connection. I don't know, I just kind of find these things fun to think about. It's not going to have that much of an impact on the overall enjoyment or experience of the game, but still kind of fun to think about every now and then, you know? So leave a comment down below, by the way, with what you think the color scheme for P6 is going to be, and what you think the mascot character is going to be. Maybe it could be like a little robot or like a little dragon or something. I don't know why. Could just be cool. Who knows? So I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream in the future. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games again, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.